of it. So you got 9 and 2 of
BGLC, the regulatory body. We regulate, you play without worry. We regulate, you play. BGLC, fair play when you play. For the fun of the game, you know where they are. BGLC, keep it fair for the player. You play the game and we are the rules setter. Keep everything fair so the game play better. The Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission. We ensure fairness, integrity and responsible gaming practices. Keep the game fair and fun for everyone. We regulate, you play.
The following is...
Jamaica is on the move with smarter and cleaner transportation. The government is enhancing the JUTC fleet with 100 new CNG buses with 10 specially outfitted for the disabled. Running on compressed natural gas, these buses reduce emissions while offering advanced safety features and Wi-Fi. Jamaica is driving in comfort towards a sustainable future.
Every school is free of unhealthy, ultra-processed products. You know, those high in salt, fats, and sugar. If only that weren't a dream. The reality is that many children have an unhealthy diet at school, and 23% of them are overweight or obese. This can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Let's protect our children's right to health with a policy for schools that prevents unhealthy food marketing and ensures access to nutritious foods. The time is now. Let's implement the National School Nutrition Policy. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We on the road to republic. Well then, let's propel we nation, moving forward in a new direction. True independence, that's the projection. No more dependency, it's the best plan. Yes, we know what's best for us, cause we want we country prosperous. So make we just pull together as the general public while on the road to republic. Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We on the road to republic.
A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
We on the road to republic.
You sure this is okay?
Relationships can get complicated.
You've avoided seeing me now for almost a year, but you still take my calls. It simply means you're not over me yet.
Okay.
Some relationships stay complicated.
I am done taking it easy, Danny. I've wasted a lot of my time waiting on you. You know what? Let me just silence this altogether.
It's done, isn't it?
What do you expect from me, Stanley?
Just forgive me.
Crocodile tears? Once a cheater, always a cheater.
When there's trouble in paradise, what do? Watch the story unfold in a brand new season of Mirrors in Paradise. Saturdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 6:30 p.m. right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.
From seed to sail, Jamaica's future grows through innovation. Introducing Export Jamaica, a global market intelligence and compliance gateway that connects your effort with global opportunities and makes international trade easier, safer, and more convenient for Jamaican businesses. Powered by the Jamaica Trade Board Limited, Export Jamaica is designed to position your products competitively and guide you through international trade. Find high-demand international markets. Gain access to trade analytics that guide your business decisions. Identify and engage with potential buyers. Know your costs up front. Trade confidently. And keep your exports safe and secure. Through Export Jamaica, you can discover all there is to know about exporting and grow your business sustainably.
From the processing of your goods, to packaging and shipping, to seeing your products reach international shelves and enjoyed by customers abroad, Export Jamaica provides the market intelligence and insights behind each step, helping you identify demand, understand export pathways, and unlock financial growth.
Say hello to a prosperous future. Visit tradeboard.gov.jm/Export Jamaica to sign up today. Expanding Jamaica's reach, empowering our people.
Rebuilding continues quietly and deliberately in communities, in businesses, and in the lives of people still finding their footing.
We soon come back. Where's the code?
Okay guys, I used to do track and field, but I'm not in the football business anymore. I'm Sammy Bad.
Yo, this Applemet News, me just got a call, season has start.
Okay.
Hello? Where say, league start, or soon come?
Johnny!
Hello? Alright.
Yo, you can't go to the ball. We are going to the ball.
Go to the ball. Oh, sorry.
Starting with our very important guest today, Ambassador the Honorable Audrey Marks, Minister who is responsible for efficiency, innovation, and digital transformation. We also have Ambassador Rocky Mead, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister. We have Deputy Financial Secretary who should be joining us, Mrs. Hope Blake. The Chief Information Officer at the ICT Authority, Mrs. Anika Shuttleworth. Chief Technical Directors at OPM, there's Ms. Joaquin Murray here, and also Kerry Chambers. President of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Emil Leiber, and the team from the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. President of the American Chamber of Commerce of Jamaica, Mrs. Ann Dawn Young Sang. Barbara Hume from the Jamaica Bankers Association. Chairman of the Jamaica Developers Association, Mr. Dayton Wood, and directors, Mr. Reynolds Scott and Mr. Michael Lake. Vice President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Mr. Mark Frankson. All the members of staff from other government entities who are here, are wonderful members of the media, Jamaicans who are watching at home and abroad. Oh, how could I leave you out? Mr. Warren Vernon, who leads our NIDS team and NERA, right? Okay. Dr. Vernon is also here with us today. And I see other people have joined. It was a long list, and I think others have been added to it. As we go along, I will also acknowledge you. So today is special because we're going to have Ambassador Marks here with us. But as always, we start with a few things. This is budget season, and so I can't have a post-cabinet press briefing and not talk about the budget a little bit. Yesterday we had that very wonderful closing from Minister Williams, and I won't go too much into that, but I'll talk generally about some highlights, especially from last week, in terms of the Prime Minister's presentation. Some of it we've not talked enough about, and you can ask some questions on it, but hopefully in subsequent post-cabinet press briefings we can talk about some of these areas a bit more, because in cabinet we've really been detained by the budget in terms of our conversations at cabinet. So key in terms of the Prime Minister's announcements, and there were so many I can't go into all of them, was NARA, or National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority. And that will be the main body that will be responsible for not just building back in the West, but also ensuring that we have resilience across the country. If this hurricane had happened in Kingston, we would have had a different story. And so it's important that we be strategic in our response to Hurricane Melissa. So we're not just building what was there, building it back. We're ensuring that whatever we do, we have embedded resilience in it. And we're also embedding resilience around the country. And so that's why in his presentation, you saw all the lovely maps showing you where different things were happening. And it was just such a wonderful thing to see all of the transformative things happening across the country. And NARA is going to be moving that forward, and the bill was tabled for NARA. NARA is a very important entity, time-bound entity, and you will be hearing much more about NARA in subsequent post-cabinet press briefings. The Prime Minister also noted that similar to when we had our e-talk, and we also had our other oversight committees, that we now have JAMROC, which is the oversight committee that will be responsible for all of this reconstruction and resilience effort across Jamaica. And so that's real. JAMROC stands for the Jamaica Reconstruction and Resilience Oversight Committee. And so we are going to be looking forward to seeing that that committee in action, and you've already heard the chair. Peter Blair Henry is going to be the chair of that, an esteemed Jamaican, and we're very, very happy as government to have him. You'd have also heard about new ports in St. Thomas. You'd have heard of expansions in the port of Kingston. You also would have heard about the Black River Resilience and Relocation Plan, which is just absolutely amazing to see. The re-envisioned Black River, you saw those pictures of the boardwalk that is contemplated, and also the new urban center that will be built away from the coast. You also heard about the Montego Bay transformation projects, where we're going to be doing a lot of work to upgrade drainage across the system, and also new waterfront infrastructure. And in Falmouth, that was another one that was just completely transformative when the Prime Minister was talking about having the boating areas. You could envision it, you could see it. All over our country, we're going to be seeing wonderful new projects. Hopewell to Lucy bypass, that was one that we also spoke about last week, and the Port Antonio redevelopment plans. Everywhere in Jamaica, we are working as government to transform. So last week's budget presentation by the Prime Minister really was about setting the stage for a new Jamaica. He was laying out the vision for a new Jamaica. And he's made it very clear to all of us in cabinet that our role is to ensure that this happens. We're not an administration that just puts things on paper and writes it down. We actually do things and we make them happen. In terms of just a few things I need to remind our listeners about, in terms of housing, 41,000 houses that are planned to be developed, 41,000 housing solutions. Also, reductions in mortgage rates for important categories of workers, teachers, nurses, and security personnel. Also, the allocation for young people for NHT schemes has increased. It is going to be 20% of all NHT schemes being allocated to young people, and young people means under 35-year-olds. And there were some other things there for young people, including the LEAP program, which is the Learn, Earn, and Prosper program, which was really conceptualized by the Guild and the Student Association at UE and UTEC. And that's going to be a transformative program where our university students can be at school and get jobs in the public sector and private sector while still at school. And this was developed by them, which is why I'm especially happy about it. And the last one I'll mention is the increase in the minimum wage, which will take effect on July 1, 2026, and the increase will be to $17,000. So a lot of things happening, a lot of things we could talk about, but we don't have time for that today, because today we have our special guest, Ambassador Marks, I should say Ambassador Minister Marks is here, and she really epitomizes what this administration is about. It's about doing things. Minister Marks is not someone who is just going to talk and talk and talk. She is a doer, and it has been such a joy to have her in the cabinet, bringing her expertise, her diplomatic expertise, plus she is like one of our top entrepreneurs that we have ever produced in this country. And to have her be in our cabinet and leading in the area she's leading in is absolutely wonderful. And I'm honored to sit near her at cabinet every single week. And her area is important. You heard me repeating some of what the Prime Minister was announcing. All those things are beautiful things, but if we really want to have the transformation of Jamaica, the work that Minister Marks is doing in terms of efficiency, in terms of digital transformation, is truly what will make all of these projects come alive, and we can truly say this is a different Jamaica. And so I ask you to join me in welcoming Ambassador the Honorable Audrey Marks, our Minister, who is responsible for efficiency, innovation, and digital transformation. Welcome, Minister.
Thank you so much, Minister Dina Morris Dixon, and thank you for your very kind words. It's really a pleasure to be here this morning and to be speaking on this topic. I know we have acknowledged all our very important guests, so I'll just go straight into saying good morning, colleagues from across the public service and representatives of the various private sector associations, our social partners, members of the media, and fellow Jamaicans. Today's launch of the Electronic Transactions Act and e-Transactions Policy as a national initiative represents another important and deliberate step in Jamaica's ongoing public sector transformation program. Being coordinated by my office, that is of Efficiency, Innovation, and Digital Transformation, and supported by the Ministry of Finance and Public Service and the Ministry of Industry, Investment, and Commerce. As a team, we are committed to design and build a public service that is more efficient, more accountable, more customer-focused, and better equipped to meet the needs of a modern Jamaica. The commercialization of the internet caused electronic messages and digital communication to gradually replace paper-based processes. However, Jamaican law at that time lacked clarity about whether electronic information, records, and signatures could be recognized as valid and enforceable in the same way as their traditional paper counterparts with wet signatures. Without legal clarity, businesses, citizens, and government agencies were understandably cautious about embracing digital transactions. Recognizing this challenge, the government of Jamaica acted, and in 2007, Jamaica enacted the Electronic Transactions Act, a landmark legal milestone that for the first time provided a comprehensive framework to govern electronic communications, records, and signatures in a way that promotes trust, legal certainty, and technology neutrality. So I want to pause for a minute to acknowledge the then Minister, the Honorable Philip Paulwell, who was the Minister of Industry, Technology, Energy and Commerce at the time, who piloted this bill through Parliament, and the opposition spokesman at the time, Mr. Clive Mullins, who supported the bill. Looking back at the Hansard, I was delighted to see the bipartisan acknowledgement that the legislation was critical for a world where transactions are now driven by technology. So from 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, the intention was for Jamaica to keep up and keep abreast of what was happening in the ease of digital transactions. The Act of 2007 affirmed that electronic records are legally equivalent to paper records, and that electronic signatures can be recognized and relied upon, provided they meet certain reliability criteria. But legislation alone does not create change, and that is why we are here today, launching the e-transactions policy as a national initiative. What I've discovered about, especially public service, is that there's a strong thing called CYA. And so you can pass the laws, but if you don't ensure that the regulations and the policy make it clear that persons have cover to make changes, it just won't happen at a pace that makes sense. So I'm very happy, is Mr. Benjamin here, anybody from Finance Ministry, to see that today we have the electronic transactions policy that will guide the implementation of the Electronic Transactions Act. And I'm especially pleased that this policy is in place, because I remember last month when I asked for this policy, I was told that it would take 2 years. And I said, I think there's a miscommunication because I expect 2 weeks. And I'm very happy to see that the memo, got the memo, and it was done within 4 weeks. So it's a good compromise. Implementation and practical adoption are what transform legal frameworks into lived reality. Jamaica's national ICT strategy and digital government policy have emphasized the importance of moving public services online efficiently, securely, and with legal backing that citizens and businesses can trust. So, although the Electronic Transactions Act provides legal recognition for electronic signatures and electronic documents, and some MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies have started to use solutions like the Adobe Sign and DocuSign to effect electronic transactions and signing of documents, many others continue to rely heavily on wet ink signatures and manual processes. This was because there was no unified government-wide policy to guide practices across MDAs. Today, we are providing that policy guidance and directive. The full implementation of the Act starts today. And I will tell you, 2 years ago, I was in Washington and I was approached by some investors. I got very excited about what they wanted to do because it would involve training and a lot of our potential engineers. And I flew down to have them come and go with me to JAMPRO. And then I heard all the difficulty of getting a company registered the same day or the next day and getting a bank account opened within one visit. And I said, this has to change. So I can't tell you how pleased I am to be here, to be moving this change forward. Thank you. And I'm also happy to see our Bankers Association represented, because as the government moves forward, this requirement of the banks that you must fly from wherever you are to get a wet signature, that has to go. So we are all going to be moving in the same direction. Because one I haven't gotten to you as yet, but a big pain point in this country is the banks not moving as fast as we need in this modern society. So we are going to do some work together. But today, we are implementing the electronic signature and the electronically signed records policy. This establishes that the government of Jamaica standard governing of the lawful, secure, and auditable use of electronic signatures and electronically signed records in the conduct of official business. In accordance with the Electronic Transactions Act, a signature or record shall not be denied legal effect solely because it is in an electronic form. The primary objectives of the policy are to establish a standardized risk-based framework for the use of electronic signatures, promote authentication, integrity and accountability and auditability of electronic transactions, improve efficiency, business continuity, and reduce reliance on paper-based processes, ensure alignment with the Electronic Transactions Act and related legislative requirements. The policy, which will be made available by the Ministry of Finance and Public Service, categorizes electronic signature methods as follows: authenticated electronic signatures, low risk; digital signatures with multi-factor authentication, moderate risk; and certificate-based digital signatures, high risk. And Mrs. Shuttleworth is here to take us through what all those categories mean. But bottom line, we are accepting fully digital signatures. MDAs are required to classify transactions as low, moderate, or high risk to determine the required assurance levels, and heads of entities will assign our officers to oversee full implementation and compliance. Approvals within the authenticated Government of Jamaica information systems constitute valid electronic signatures where the system maintains a secure audit trail, and electronically signed documents must be preserved in accordance with legal retention schedules and must remain verifiable over time. MDAs must accept electronic signatures from suppliers, contractors, and citizens once the method used is not prohibited by law. In addition, the policy outlines the principles governing the electronic signatures, governance and accountability, signature risk categories, digital certificates, and public key infrastructure, among others. So that's the first point that I want to make. We now have a policy that will drive the full implementation, and it covers from A to Z in making sure the public service feels comfortable and covered to implement this act. The second thing I want to share is the vision of Digital Jamaica. The Government of Jamaica will progressively make electronic submission and digital interaction the default way citizens and businesses engage with public services. Digital transactions do not merely represent a technology upgrade. It is a modernization of how government interacts with the public. This means that electronic submission will become the primary channel for official business, and valid electronic signatures will not be refused solely because they are electronic. Digital Jamaica is being implemented through 3 structured phases. Focus on services that are digitally ready and high impact. Phase 2, focus on services requiring moderate system alignment. And phase 3, focus on structurally complex or legacy services. This ensures that high-impact services move early where feasible, while more complex services transition responsibly. So far, under Phase 1, we have achieved the following to date. The ICTA, the Information Communications Technology Authority, has developed and is implementing Jamaica's public key infrastructure to support digital signatures and e-transactions. Mrs. Shuttleworth will speak more on that, but internally, the ICTA will be introducing digital signing for their purchase orders, and other MDAs will also issue purchase orders, should, if needed, and other MDAs are being urged to also introduce digital purchase orders. And if necessary, or if assistance is needed, please speak with the ICTA to utilize this technology for your operations. We have built into the National Identification System digital certificates that will enable authentication of identity when signing or completing electronic transactions. And Dr. Warren Vernon is here to speak on that. This is going to be a sea change in terms of even being able to open bank accounts and do other transactions. It really is going to just require one ID, not multiple IDs. People have to walk. I'm trying to get my insurance. And my own House of Parliament is telling me that I have to do my driver's license, passport, and birth certificate. Those days have to be over. One ID should be sufficient, and we are building in the back end to make sure it is secure and it can be trusted. So going forward, that is the next step that we will be really pushing hard, and we want all the support of not only the government offices, but the private sector. So I was very pleased to see all the private sector leaders here today, and you have already been acknowledged. The Court Administration Division is using a digital signature product, Sign Easy, on a pilot basis for documents that the courts sign. The ICT Authority integrated this digital signature product into the ticket management system to facilitate the bulk digital signing of warrants. A pilot was launched at the Kingston Traffic Court for bulk signing of warrants, which was successfully completed. It is now expected that the Courts Administration Division will be doing a full rollout of digital signing of traffic ticket warrants for the courts island-wide. Mrs. Mitzi Romont, Daly, you'll speak more on that shortly, but I must say that I am so pleased to see that, because over and over, persons have complained about the delays with the ticket system, and it's millions of dollars out there not being collected while, motorists are being stopped. But the system wasn't supporting the full processing of the tickets quickly. So I'm very happy that we are about to say that those delays are behind us with the rollout of the digital signing of warrants. Therefore, the aim of today's launch is to state as a national imperative the full adoption of digital and electronic signatures. These tools are more than a replacement for ink. They are enablers of efficiency, transparency, and accountability. With digital signatures, it is our plan that citizens can sign documents, can sign government forms and applications online without needing to travel to offices or exchange paper documents. Businesses can interact with government agencies faster, reducing processing times and administrative costs. Government agencies can automate workflows, reduce manual processing, and improve record keeping in ways that paper simply cannot match. Legal certainty is strengthened because electronic signatures that are authenticated and tamper-resistant provide a clear chain of accountability. Our public sector becomes more responsive, citizen-centric, and aligned with the way Jamaicans live and work in the digital age. In sectors such as taxation, land administration, procurement, and licensing, electronic signatures will reduce bottlenecks, cut down turnaround times, and enhance service delivery. Processes that once took days or weeks can now be completed in hours or even minutes. In closing, I want to share, especially for members in the diaspora and those doing international business, that the Electronic Transactions Act and the follow-on regulations have fully aligned Jamaica with global best practices, including principles found in the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, Model Law on Electronic Commerce. These frameworks ensure that electronic transactions, digital contracts, and e-signatures are recognized not only domestically, but also in cross-border commerce. Jamaica's journey in promulgating the electronic transactions law and policy reflects a broader national vision. Digital Jamaica, sign, send, succeed. This is a vision of a digitally enabled society where legal certainty, technological innovation, and public service efficiently walk hand in hand. By embracing digital and electronic signatures, we are not only simplifying processes, but we are also building trust, enhancing governance, and unlocking opportunities for economic growth. Special thanks to the hard-working task force. And I don't know if we had heard the task force acknowledged earlier. Madam MC, you have the list somewhere there, and I would like to acknowledge the task force before the end of the day of this thing. But let us continue this journey with purpose, collaboration, and a shared commitment to a more efficient, accessible, and modern public sector. Before I finish, I see Mr. Richard Goldburn. 2 years ago, when I had those investors here, and he's a lawyer that was handling the transaction, I got very mad at him. I said, what you're saying cannot be true. You're not doing your job. And so let me publicly apologize that you are doing your job and that we just needed to modernize some things in the government, and assure you that that is getting done. The next set of investors, it will be easier. Because we don't mind if you want to come and open 10 companies. It's okay. If everything is not in place, you will take your time, but we will open the companies, we will collect our fees, and then you can take your time and do the rest of what you need to do. But the process to open a bank account or to register a company to do business in Jamaica should not take more than 24 hours. And that's the direction that we are going in. So let me say thank you, and at this time I want to invite the following persons to speak further on the phase 1. Mrs. Anika Shuttleworth, Dr. Warren Vernon, Mrs. Mitzi Beaumont Daly, and Mr. Barrington Thomas. They will all speak briefly on the areas that show how across government we are introducing digital transformation. Thank you again, Madam MC, Minister Morris Dixon. The Prime Minister said that he's the builder. I'm trying to carve out a niche as the implementer. And here we have the communicator and educator. Thank you so much.
Sure. I can't let you go down and not thank you for that. We're hearing the Jamaica that all of us want to hear, and I know especially those in the private sector who are here. You're doing your businesses and you're just hamstrung by what is happening in terms of the bureaucracy. I tell you, every single cabinet, Minister Marks is there advocating for you. She is going to get rid of all the red tape if it's the last thing she does, and she's doing a fantastic job, and I want to thank you for being here this morning. And I know we have several speakers who you've named, and I tell each of you have 5 minutes. When you see me standing up, it means your time is up. And also just to note that you coming up here means that you're open to getting questions from the media. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Shuttleworth. It's nice to see you. I know how much hard work you do, so it's really good to have you here at PostCap.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you so much, Senator Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, Ambassador the Honorable Audrey Marks, Ambassador Rocky Mead, colleagues, members of the media, Jamaicans, good morning. It is indeed my pleasure to come after my minister to speak. Minister, after you spoke, I feel as though I didn't really need to say too much because you laid the foundation so well. But this is indeed a very important moment for Jamaica. And for me, having been in the profession for so many years and knowing some of the struggles, Minister, the bureaucracy is real, but the heart and passion of so many of us as professionals over the years, really, we are heartened to see these things coming to fruition just now. As Minister Marks mentioned earlier, implementation of the E-Transactions Act and the Electronic Transactions Policy represents another deliberate, intentional step towards our public sector being more efficient. And what we are doing is to move from paper to digital, from delays to efficiency, and from uncertainty to trust. At the heart of this transformation is something simple and yet powerful, and that is the ability to electronically sign documents with confidence. That is important. And electronic signatures, we all have to assess the various risks. Every document that we sign, we have to assess the risks involved in those. And Minister had mentioned earlier, high, medium, and low risks involved. There are some documents that are signed via a software. There are some that are signed via a direct document. Now, whatever it is, we all have personal responsibility, and we know that the Data Protection Act is very much with us. So the electronic signature policy and the legislation does not prevent us from taking keen attention to the Data Protection Act. For many, many years, we had done many manual things, as Minister had said. And this is as simple as walking from place to place with documents requiring signing, but we are changing that. The ICT Authority, our role is very clear as the technical engine of a digital government, as we build, design, and implement systems that make secure transactions available. These systems ensure that Jamaicans engage with the government of Jamaica online through secure, reliable, legally valid, and easy-to-use solutions. And today's launch reflects years of work. As Minister said, the foundation has been set. Now, at the heart of electronic transactions initiative is something called a public key infrastructure, or PKI. Now, in simple terms, a public key infrastructure creates a trust that allows confidence in digital transactions. It is a technology that ensures that when someone signs a document electronically, we know who signed it, we know it has not been altered, and we can verify at any time. This is all important, and a national public key infrastructure, therefore, is foundational to enabling digital signatures that are trusted and unlocking secure end-to-end digital government services. This is where the ICT Authority comes in. We led the implementation of the National Public Key Infrastructure, which is in place, and I am happy to say has been aligned and is aligned with international standards. It's a robust process, and for those of us that went through the process, we had to go through a rigorous audit. It is very, very stringent. We have two public key infrastructures here in Jamaica. A machine-readable travel document public key infrastructure for the electronic ID as well as the electronic passports. We also have a general public key infrastructure for other types of transactions. Now, it is key to note that we have already used this infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, for these critical systems. It is being used, has been tested, and also certified by the auditors. We now are extending it to support wider electronic signing across the government using the government document signing solution that will be implemented shortly. That is the other public key infrastructure that I spoke about. Now, let me bring this a little bit closer to home. As we think about government citizen operations, One practical example, and Minister had mentioned it, is the signing of purchase orders. Now, all of us in government have to sign purchase orders at a particular level. We know that process. That paper sits on somebody's desk. It moves from person to person. The person may be in a meeting. 2 or 3 days later, that it may be when the document is attended. Now imagine an opportunity for a more efficient process. Now, as ICT authority and certainly as a government, we will shortly be implementing signing of purchase orders as well. We believe holistically in demonstrating what we are talking about and encouraging others to do, Minister. It's not just about telling people, but we have to do it. Now, when you multiply one document across thousands of documents that have to go through that journey, you realize what I'm talking about. So with electronic signing, approvals can happen instantly. Documents are moved securely online, and audit trails are automatically created. That is critical. The results: faster procurement cycles, greater transparency, and a reduced administrative burden. Ultimately, what we are all about is improving how we serve this nation. Another example, which we will hear a little bit later from the Court Administration Division, I am proud to say, having been a part of the journey, and I see Mrs. Cameron Anglin here, with traffic ticketing for so many years, I recall, and I have to tell this story. Please bear with me for 2 more minutes. No, 1 second. In that, having been a part of the journey with traffic ticketing for such a long time, I recall years ago when we asked, why can't we sign warrants electronically? And we were told the law says you have to sign with paper. And this was 2008. Here we are in 2026, and we see this being brought to fruition. So this is indeed a proud moment for us as a country and certainly as the ICT authority. So there are indeed capabilities, and I will not steal the thunder of my colleague that will speak some more about those opportunities. But this is what digital transformation looks like in practice as we talk about these various examples. Now, whenever we speak about digital systems, I know one question comes up. Is it secure? We all ask that question. But the answer is yes. The public key infrastructure is designed with security in mind. All of these solutions are built with strong encryption, role-based access control. So this means that not anybody can just go and access these various solutions. Multi-factor authentication, and Minister had mentioned about being verifiable and traceable. All of this really comes together for us as Jamaicans, not having to take these unnecessary trips to various government offices, and we absolutely cannot wait for that to be the case. Colleagues and fellow Jamaicans, as I conclude, this is only the beginning. The infrastructure is in place, the policy is in effect, and the use cases are already delivering results, from law enforcement to identity and safeguarding our borders. Today is indeed a shift for us. Let us embrace this change, lead with confidence, and continue building a public service that truly works for the people. Thank you so much.
Okay, good morning, everyone. All protocols observed. Going from what Minister said earlier, and in the interest of time. So the National Identification System project, just to set context, the National Public Key Infrastructure emerged from the National Identification System project. So the entire country is already benefiting from this implementation under the NIDS project, and we worked on this with the ICT authority. So it's important to share this with the country in terms of a benefit from that significant investment. To set the context for my presentation, I wish to describe electronic signature as a paperless method of authorization. It's a paperless way to say, I am in agreement with the content of a document, or I am in agreement with a message. That paperless method of authorization could be facilitated in a number of ways. Could be a click, could be a tap, could be a PIN, like your debit and credit card, could be using biometric for authentication, and it could also be the use of cryptographic keys. Now, electronic signature. There's a form of electronic signature that I am interested in talking to you about, and that's a digital signature. The digital signature is the most secure form of electronic signature. And I'm pleased to say that Jamaica has the infrastructure to support digital signature that was implemented under the National Identification System project. So we have integrated digital signature into the National Identification Card framework. So when you, then the best way to view this, it's similar to, and I'm seeing Ms. Barbara Hume from the banking sector, who worked very hard with us on the implementation of the National Identification Card. But I'm picking on the banking sector just to explain briefly when we talk about digital signature. Without showing the details of my credit card, there is a processor, we call it a mini computer, that is on your modern credit and debit card. Similarly, for the National Identification Card, the National Identification Card has integrated into the card a processor also. So your National Identification Card is basically a mini computer in your wallet, a powerful mini computer in your wallet. And we designed this tool. It has an operating system. It has multiple apps. Specifically, we designed the system with an app for authentication, meaning you can use it to log into a service or to assert who you are in terms of your identity. We designed it also with an app for digital signature. So those of you in the room who have received your National Identification Card, you're walking around with a mini computer that is powerful, that you can use the certificates from the public key infrastructure to facilitate the use of digital signature. Very powerful tool. In addition, I wish to mention that the issuance of electronic passport would not have been possible without the investment by the government into this national public key infrastructure under the National Identification System project. So if you have in your possession an electronic passport, you're already benefiting from the National Identification System project. If you use the kiosk at the airport, you're already benefiting from the National Identification System project. And the infrastructure improvement in the Government of Jamaica data center was also a part of the NIDS project. So I wish to point out that the National Identification Card is e-transaction ready, Minister. Persons with a national ID card may use it to do so. We encourage the financial sector, we encourage government entities to start building applications to interface with this, to leverage the libraries that are available so persons can get the maximum value from this important tool. So as we move forward, we're looking forward to see, as Minister mentioned, more applications, more tools, more services that are open to the people 24/7. In other words, government must be open to the people 24/7. And you can only facilitate this with the use of digital services. So I thank you.
I want to thank Mrs. Shuttleworth and also Dr. Vernon for their words. I can tell you they are some of the most committed individuals you will ever find in the public service, and their teams are extremely committed also. And so I want to thank both of you. And we move along. I had a different name, but you can introduce yourself and do your 5 minutes.
Good morning. Morning all. I'm Mitzi Beaumont Daly, and I'm the senior judge of the parish court. and I'm assigned to the Traffic Court, Kingston and St. Andrew. I stand on the protocols previously established. It is a privilege to participate in this national launch of the Electronic Transaction Act and the e-transaction policy. Today represents a defining moment in our collective journey toward a modern, efficient, and technology-enabled justice system, one that is better aligned with the needs and expectations of the citizens we serve. The judiciary is especially pleased to be represented here today, not only as a stakeholder, but as a pioneer. Led by our Chief Justice, who I must say is the champion of digital transformation, and through the Court Administration Division, we have already begun to operationalize elements of digital transformation, most notably through the pilot initiative at the Traffic Court for the Kingston and St. Andrew for the electronic signing of warrants. Historically, warrant processing has been rooted in manual systems, often resulting in logistical challenges and inefficiencies. The introduction of electronic signatures at the court has fundamentally transformed this experience. Judicial officers are now able to review and sign warrants electronically, significantly reducing the time between the issuance and execution. What once required hours, days, or even weeks can now be accomplished with remarkable speed and precision. This experience has demonstrated that the digital transformation is both achievable and impactful. Beyond efficiency, the pilot initiative at the Kingston and St. Andrew Traffic Court has strengthened accountability and transparency. Each electronically signed warrant carries a secure and traceable audit trail, reinforcing confidence in both the process and the outcome. It is important to note that through continued collaboration with our stakeholders, all our parish courts are now positioned to utilize the electronic signing of warrants as part of the Ticket Information Management System, TIMS, in an effort to significantly enhance and streamline the warrant processing framework. The expected outcome of this integration in TIMS is the ability of the warrants to not only be signed electronically, but also transmitted instantly to the relevant authorities for execution. Whilst the Traffic Court has been progressing in that direction, it is the aim for this system to be implemented in all parish courts across the island. Building on this progress, the pending introduction and implementation of the Integrated Electronic Case Management System, IECMS, will represent a transformative leap forward as it will enable the seamless management of cases from initiation to final disposition. From electronic filing and real-time case tracking to automated scheduling and digital record keeping, the system will fundamentally improve how matters flow through and across all courts in Jamaica. The benefits of the ICMS are both practical and profound. It envisions a fully digital environment where documents are generated, signed, transmitted, and stored within a secure, unified platform, minimizing reliance on paper, reducing administrative burden, and enabling the courts to operate with greater agility, even beyond physical boundaries. It will also reduce delays and improve access to justice by ensuring that cases are processed more efficiently, enhance data integrity and accessibility, and foster greater coordination among key stakeholders, thereby creating a more cohesive and responsive justice ecosystem. The implementation of the Electronic Transactions Act and the e-transaction policy now provide essential legal and institutional framework to sustain and expand these advancements. They affirm the validity of the electronic process and set the standard for secure, reliable digital engagement across the public sector. As we embrace these advancements, the judiciary remains committed to maintaining the highest standards of integrity, supported by robust cybersecurity measures, sound governance, and continuous capacity building. We're confident that with the expanded use of the electronic signatures in the teams and the introduction and implementation of the IECMS, coupled with the broader national framework, the judiciary can progress in achieving its vision in becoming a world-class judiciary that utilizes innovation and technology for efficient service delivery. Thank you.
Everybody's being very efficient. Minister, you've done very well. I had expected the CEO to speak this morning. The CEO of the Court Administration Division is here, and she is Tricia Cameron Anglin, and she's here. And she told me she wanted you to hear directly from someone who is using it. And Misty Beaumont Daly, who you just heard from, she is senior judge in the largest traffic court in the Caribbean. And I was just told that since the start of the year, there have been 100,000 traffic warrants in her court alone. That's a lot. And I also was told that 70% of the backlog in our court system is related to traffic matters. And so what's happening here is absolutely important when we're talking about efficiency in the government system. And I think it's also beautiful to show how we have joined up elements of the entire governance framework. So you have the court actually changing out their systems so that they can then receive what is happening through NERA and through the ICT authority in the digital warrant so that they can accept it. It is just beautiful to see. This is what joined up governance looks like. And we're going to continue along that. I hear it's being rolled out into St. Catherine soon, following the example of Kingston and St. Andrew. And so, again, congratulations, Minister. Congratulations, team, the court team, too, who are just pioneers in digital transformation. All right, the last person up is from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. We have to have them as a part of these conversations. It's Mr. Barrington Thomas, who's Principal Director for Accounting and Financial Policy. Welcome.
Thank you, Minister. And all previous protocols still observed. Good morning, all. And I promise you my time here will be as similar to my height. Now, I just want to commend Minister Marks. She's a very critical person and a nice person to work with. She means results. And I really sat in a meeting with her and heard when she said that this policy needs to be out in 2 weeks. And I'm saying this is fire. But it's a critical fire that needs to go out. And based on that, and we really see government entities working together to pull something off, which is very critical for nation building, for ease of doing business, for just efficiency. And I am really privileged to say that the Ministry of Finance, you may be wondering, why does Ministry of Finance want to lead on electronic signatures? They're not IT people. But the financial risk is great. And under the auspices of public financial management, ensuring that the use of electronic signature is done in a lawful manner is a very critical component that the Ministry of Finance wants to ensure that we play a major role. And as such, you would have heard Minister Marks declare that the Ministry of Finance will be publishing or will be moving the electronic signature and electronically signed records policy. And this is really to ensure that the act that has been in place for so long can now fully be implemented in a lawful manner. Because when we're working with accountants need written direction, written advice that they can back up to say the policy says we are able to do this. The policy says we can do that. And we can say to the Auditor General that it is in keeping with this section or this subsection. And as such, the Ministry of Finance sees it fit to ensure that a policy is in place to ensure that the law is implemented, the electronic signature is implemented in accordance to the law. What are the expectations? The expectations of the implementation of this policy is that efficiency, we must see improved efficiency. I'll give you a quick little example. All contractors, suppliers that does business with a government entity should now be able to submit their bills electronically, their invoices electronically, with electronic signatures. So no longer will a bearer will be needed to bring the invoice to a ministry to sit probably in the records area for 2 days, and then the records area send it to the wrong department. After 5 days, and after 10 days, it finally reaches to the correct department. And then the paper pushing continues. This policy indicates the guidelines as to say that the government will accept electronically signed documents such as our invoices. So contractors, suppliers can be rest assured that efficiency has begun. And it is, the good thing is that the law provided for it already. But the operational guide is now here. And because the operational guide is now here, we expect nothing but full speed ahead with implementation and acceptance of this electronic signature policy. We also expect to have greater collaboration, because now that this is here, we are on trade. We have digital trade. We have to look at the trading. So the partnership is not just Ministry of Finance, ICT Authority, but you'll find MIIC, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, must be coming together, because this is a whole of government thing, not just one entity. But the policy is here, and Minister Mark said it all, so I won't repeat anything, just to say that the Ministry of Finance supports because the law provides for it, and the Ministry of Finance will be doing all that it can to ensure that this is operationalized in the best and most shortest time possible, because efficiency is at paramount, and the Ministry of Finance is of nothing but ensure that greater efficiency is met within the GOJ, and that's what we are for. Ease of doing business, greater efficiency in the public sector, Electronic Transactions Act, and its related policies and guidelines are here to ensure that this is achieved. I thank you.
Thank you very much. And you hear, everybody is on board. It's right across government. And again, Minister Marks had asked me to acknowledge the members of the task force. And they are Mrs. Anika Shuttleworth, who you heard from, the CIO at the ICT Authority. There's also Ms. Joaquin Murray, who is the CTD in OPM. There's also Mrs. Hope Blake, the Deputy Financial Secretary. We also have Mr. Barrington Thomas, who you just also heard from the Ministry of Finance. There is also from our Transformation Implementation Unit at the Ministry of Finance, Mrs. Maria Thompson Walters and Mr. Richard Panton. And then we also have a rep from the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Ms. Shamela Moses. And also we have Mr. Mario Thomas from the team with Minister Marks. And so that's the committee that has worked so hard to deliver this. This is something that Cabinet has wanted for some time. And Minister Marks, congratulations to you on delivering on it, and we are extremely happy. I'm going to go to the questions now. We have members of the media here who will be asking their questions. All right.
And while persons are getting ready to ask questions, I just want to take this opportunity, Minister, to give an update on the staggered implementation of the Flexi Work Program. The last time that I had a press conference to announce the implementation of another act that was sitting around for a while was about a month ago, when we implemented the staggered, the Flexi Work Program as a national imperative in the government service. And I'm pleased to say that we are not just announcing implementation, we are actively monitoring to ensure that what we say will be implemented is being implemented and implemented at a pace. So please, and P.S., I thank you for your support in all of this, and the Cabinet Secretary also, because I was able to get the update that the staggered working arrangements, which is phase 1, the policy paper went out across all the government sector, public sector on February 2nd. And we now have 90% take-up from all the ministries, agencies, and departments having started the implementation, full implementation. And we expect that the other 10%, they are starting the conversations, and we expect that it will be 100% take up by the end of this month in terms of all government workers having the opportunity to work on a staggered basis if they so choose. And as you know, this is our first step as we then move towards virtual work and 4-day work week. Whatever will work in the virtual space equal to work in the physical space is what we are implementing, because as you know, as you mentioned, Nara, earlier, if another disaster strikes Jamaica, and I decree and declare in the name of Jesus that we're not asking for another one, but just in case, we want to make sure that our government services can stand up in the digital space. I call it a digital twin to our physical services. So I'm pleased to see, and you'll be hearing from me on a regular basis. Whatever we announce that we are implementing, we'll be giving updates on the implementation. You will be seeing it, but I also will give updates as we monitor implementation across the government. Thank you, Minister.
All right. All right, so we have our first question.
Good morning, everyone. Audio guys told me I shouldn't whisper. It's all right. Good morning, everybody. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News here. 2 questions on the announcements. The first being, is there any estimated cost for the implementation of this new act and policy? And secondly, as you spoke about disasters, how much do you think this implementation of this policy will help the country if we are to be in another situation of a natural disaster?
All right, so let me say there's no new cost. This 19 years ago, this act was passed. It just was not implemented fully. So it's nothing new. Many agencies have started to use maybe DocuSign or one of the other Adobe Sign, but it wasn't a streamlined, full government implementation. So what we are doing now is doing that process. In fact, last year, I had an early, when I came home and had my orientation, I had a meeting with Mr. Alok Jain and Ms. Merle Donaldson from the Prime Minister's office, and they pointed out a number of legislation that was passed, that were passed over the past number of years, some up to 20 years ago like this one, that we had not fully implemented. So as a first step, what I'm doing is making sure we implement the legislations that are on the books that will allow us greater efficiency in government services. And the next step is that we are going to develop new laws that will also facilitate more efficiencies in the government space. So what you will have is actually a cost benefit, not a cost in terms of any additional cost to the government. But we are going to, from the efficiencies that we will see from going more digital, we'll have savings, not more cost. In terms of, I said it a while ago, that we are using the lessons coming out of Melissa. As Minister said earlier, if this had passed through Kingston, the way that it hit St. Elizabeth or Westmoreland, government services would have been down for a while. So we were given our warning. So what I'm working on is literally to create a digital twin of government services, so that if the physical areas are down, we can have the resilience of the digital services by building out the virtual cloud and the digital infrastructure.
All right.
So we should not have a situation where we cannot be doing services because of a disaster.
Morning, everyone. I'm Jamila Maitland from TVJ. Minister, what is the timeline for the full implementation or adoption of the policy across government agencies? And you mentioned that a few of the government services like taxation, land, and some of the representatives are here. Are we to assume that this is where government is prioritizing first? And I'll just roll in one more. Do you foresee any challenges in the rollout from some government agencies in that they don't have the infrastructure in place as yet to verify some of these electronic signatures?
Sure. So you notice, I might have said at our first press conference, I don't really make announcements. Whenever we are doing any launch, it is really to talk about implementation, which would mean that would have gone through a process to make sure it is working, and that it is there are pilots around, and that we know it is, it's literally being rolled out. So when we do a launch to talk about the full implementation as a national imperative, it is already working, already in train. So it starts today, fully across all government ministries, agencies, departments. There's no timeline like next month or whatever. It's as of today. We expect full implementation. For the agencies and ministries that don't have any equipment that they will need or any systems, the ICT, as I mentioned earlier, is prepared to support those agencies and ministries. But full implementation starts today. We expect that all ministries, agencies, and departments will be utilizing and accepting electronic signatures, starting today.
Just a little follow-up. For Ms. Shuttleworth then, have you already had any reports from any government agencies about any possible delays so far?
Any possible?
Delays in implementation or adoption. Any government agencies about any delays as it relates to accepting or adopting the electronic signatures so far?
There have been no reports of delays or challenges thus far. What we do know is that there are entities that need to acquire the solution. As with any policy, this is a start for some. For some entities, they have already been on the journey. In fact, since the pandemic, some entities invested, as Minister had said, in Adobe Sign and some of these other types of solutions. So we're saying utilize those solutions even as we continue to build out the government document signing solution. And of course, we at the ICT Authority will continue to work with all entities wherever they are on their journey. Thank you.
All right, thank you. In fact, quite a few agencies and ministries, including in my office, I know we use digital signature without some of the security that I'm now finding that we can put in place working with the government system. So thank you for that. Yes.
All right. Hello, Zara Burton. I'm with 18 Degrees North. I have a couple questions for Ambassador Marks and also for Minister Morris Dixon, but some of them intersect with the two of you.
We work well together.
So you can just give all of them and then we'll just answer as a group.
Yes, so I was looking at some third supplemental estimates for 2024, 2025, 2025, 2026. So the last 2 fiscal years. And the path amounts of money seem to be underspent in some instances by hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, I'm trying to understand why it is, and maybe I'm misinterpreting. If you could give me a sense of how PATH is doing in terms of spending its allocation for the years, and whether they're having difficulty as applicants in making PATH applications, and whether this crisscross of electronic signatures could help maybe boost that process. I'm just curious about PATH in particular, about how it's doing. 2, has Jamaica, you, Ambassador Marks, were involved in some meetings last year with the United States, and of course you were our ambassador to the United States. However, I wanted to understand your role just generally, because I noticed that you do represent us sometimes still in that foreign relations type of role. So I just wanted to get a little bit more understanding, clearer understanding of your role versus the minister's role when it comes to foreign relations. That's 1. But 2, in that meeting in December, I believe it was, did they brief you about the imminence at that time of the Venezuelan president being deposed in that meeting that you were in? And also, have we, Jamaica, paid back Venezuela for its stake in the refinery that we had put in escrow, the billions that we had put in escrow for that? And then lastly, as ambassador, 2 more for you. The Social Security for Jamaicans, there were some deported persons, one deported person that has specifically, he's dead now, he died a pauper. He basically said he spent all his life in the United States working, got in trouble, he disputes the trouble, but nevertheless he got deported and he didn't get a cent of Social Security. I wanted to know if, as ambassador, when you were there, if you had at all engaged the United States for the people that are deported, let us say, for them to be able to get their Social Security payments that they put into the United States so that they can get it back when they're here. The last question is, the Prime Minister had mentioned zip coding the country. Are you spearheading that effort, and how is it going?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. You want to deal with the PATH first?
All right. I can deal with PATH a little bit because I'm not looking at the numbers that you are looking at. The Ministry of Labor was here last week, so that would have been a good time for that question. But I can tell you that from, for example, the Ministry of Education, we have allocations from PATH. And some years you see that being underspent. Why would that happen? Because at the start of the financial year, you make a determination as to how many students you expect to be on PATH. And one of the things with PATH is you have to meet particular criteria in order for you to continue receiving. So for example, you have to be in school. They do check the records of the schools to see that the students are in school. And so that we have noted in previous years that sometimes the number that we would have started out the year expecting, when the actual audit is done, that it is actually a different number. And so you may see some underspend there. I'm talking about from the education standpoint that I know about. On the transport line too, sometimes we also have a line to support students who are in schools that have, significant numbers of students on PATH, especially in rural areas. And what happens sometimes is, there is a mismatch between when the bills come in versus when the financial year is supposed to end. But that's really why you would see that under spend in terms of education. But in terms of the bigger PATH allocation, I'd have to ask the Ministry of Labor to opine on that and give you that information.
All right, let me say in addition to that, as we go through, and there are two steps. One is to look at the processes, all the processes that are going on now in various departments, in their various ministries, and looking at how we can cut those steps down to, instead of 10, to 2 steps. And the second is how we can use technology that is available today to fast forward, to accelerate that process. And so we expect to be working with Ministry of Labor to also digitalize quite a bit of their back-end processes. And so we'll speak more about that at another meeting. Now, you know, if you notice, there are 2 titles that you keep for life. General, like General Meade here, and ambassador. So once an ambassador, always an ambassador. They keep that title. So, and you know, I spent 10, 12, about 13 years in service as an ambassador to Washington, to the United States. So whenever I'm called on to support the foreign ministry, even while in this position, it is my pleasure to do so, because sometimes, just from the experience and the relationships that you would have built over time, it is useful to be in the room. You know, I had the great privilege to have work across both the Democratic and Republican administrations, 3 different presidents, twice now with President Trump. So there are relationships that would have been built up over time that, if useful, I'm always happy to make the connections and to support the work of our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The meeting in December, no, they did not discuss with us at all any plans to do with the Venezuela intervention. We spoke more about the national security imperatives for the region. And my hard push is to, we had come up with a policy some years ago called Plan Secure Jamaica that required certain specific support from the United States. And as our closest neighbor, and as the largest market for the demand for drugs that comes from Central and South America to North America, with Jamaica as a transit point. The United States is the largest market for the demand for drugs, and they are the largest supplier of the guns that leave North America, comes through this northern Caribbean area, Haiti, etc., and then head back to Latin America. So we are caught in the middle. We suffer the most from this traffic, and we're neither a supplier of guns, we don't build guns here, and we don't grow cocaine here, so we have to do aggressive lobbying to support our own initiatives to lower crime, to work with the U.S. to stop the flow of drugs and guns through our country. And we continue to push those in the meetings that we have in terms of having a stronger coordination in the fight against the drug trade in the region. And that's the focus that we have. On the last point was...
And also,
oh, yes. So I'm so excited about that. I will tell you, it's the strangest thing. About 4 years ago, a gentleman called me when I was ambassador and said, I'm trying to get the government to accept a new software that I've developed where we can do, we can use Google, the Google codes, and map out everywhere in Jamaica, give every Jamaican use the coordinates to do every Jamaican lot. You can give an address, every home, every business. We are trying to get through to the Ministry of National Security, but we are not getting a response. And as another thing that don't change, as an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, I said, why are you giving away such a brilliant idea? Form a business. And I spent about a couple, months kind of just mentoring the persons to say, this is a great business idea. You could help transform the developing world that don't have, postal codes. And then we fell out of contact until this year. I heard back from, it's called YASO, And I love that name. Yasso, this is where the address is. Mr. Andrew Walker came and said that he's now ready. He has gotten funding from the IDB. He's ready now to implement across Jamaica. So if you notice at the post office, we're very happy to sign a MOU to work with him. And they have their drones out now doing the mapping of Jamaica so that every house in Jamaica will be able to have an address. And you know, I'm a country girl from way up in the hills of a place called Dressiki. I'm going to have an address in my little area. So it is ongoing, and I'm excited about it. And we'll all be seeing that deliveries will be made much easier. In another 6 months, you should see it fully operational in terms of persons being able to get their deliveries with their digital addresses, which I also want to take a little further. Although it's a digital address, I want us to print those signs, and they are going to look more like the ones in London. Is the coordinates, but you're going to have your own address that match back to the digital coordinates that Google recognizes, and it will be an international recognition of that address.
Competitive bidding?
Sorry?
There was no competitive bidding for this project?
No, because you do competitive bidding if you have more or if you have 2 or 3 offering the same thing. But our government also allows for, what is the term again, where if someone comes with something that they have a specific competence in, sole sourcing. We can do sole sourcing for areas that are unique and of a service imperative for the government.
Okay, and the question I had asked as well about social security for deported persons.
Oh, that is the other one.
Yeah.
No, I never had to deal with that question. What we worked on was trying to ensure that we got support for persons being deported to be resettled into the country. So establishing support, resettlement facilities that you can come in, spend a while until you can reunite with families and get settled in. Social security, I didn't hear about that before, unfortunately, because that makes sense. And I will certainly, from a government position, start checking on it and work on it with Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Labor to see what we can do. Because that's an important, it would make a big difference to those persons who are in the system legally and can access Social Security. So thank you for that, bringing that up.
December meeting, did you at all express any displeasure with the United States and the campaign of bombing any boats where individuals of Caribbean descent were killed or anything like that?
No, it's not in my place to express delight or displeasure with the United States. I listen and I put forward my positions on things that are related to Jamaica, but I don't get into expressing. That's not my role to express delight or displeasure. Thank you.
All right.
Morning.
Good morning.
Liver and Barrett, the Gleaner Company. I have 3 questions for Ambassador Marks and one for Minister Dana Dixon. Minister Marks, you indicated that you have been alerted to a number of laws that have been passed but have been dormant for years. I wondered, Minister, if you can tell us some examples of those laws that you're talking about. If you have been given a mandate relative to those laws, and if so, what is that mandate? That's one. 2, you alluded to millions of dollars in traffic ticket fines being outstanding. I wondered if you have a number you could share with us. And then do I ask you?
Sure, yeah, you can go ahead.
Late last year, you indicated, Minister Dixon, that
Do you have a number?
the number of deaths from Hurricane Melissa was at 45, and that 15 investigations were underway to confirm persons who have been reported missing. I wondered if you could provide an update on those numbers, if there's an update.
Sure.
And then lastly, for both of you, please to tell us which schools you are rooting for at boys and girls championships. I think the country wants to know if the Minister of Education is.
Can I start with the champs question? You notice I'm in black and white. There's a reason for this. On Monday, I wore something green, and I was asked if I was indicating preference. Yesterday morning, I was going to go on a run with some children in Montego Bay, and I wanted to wear my purple tights. And I was told, Minister, you cannot do that. So I'm supporting everybody, but red is strong.
I'm going to support my old schools, Marymount and Immaculate for the girls, and I guess the brother school, St. George's College, which, you know, I'm not necessarily going with who is supposed to win, but my usual support.
All right, you can.
Yes.
The laws.
The first question.
Laws.
The laws, yes.
Yeah.
I don't have. So we were having a briefing, and the laws were mentioned. I have a gentleman right around the back there, Mario. He's researching those, all of those laws that are on the books now. I don't have them that I can share with you. But the last two, these two, the flexi work hours and electronic transactions, those so far is what I can say that we know. One was from 2007 and one was from 2016 or 2014. We have some others we are going through. I just don't remember them, but I will. The next briefing, I'll come prepared with all the laws that we are going through. And the important thing is to know that we have been, as a country, as a government, successive government, we have seen where we need to update our laws, and that is a continuous process. What we have to do at the same time is not just put the laws in place, but to implement as soon as possible. And so both for laws that were done before and for some that we are doing now, you're going to see much more implementation, especially for those that impact efficiency. But let me hear you said the school question threw me a bit. Let me hear
It was the traffic tickets?
Let me hear.
Traffic
the traffic
tickets.
tickets.
Yeah.
Madam, do you have you don't know the numbers for the amounts? I used to, I don't remember. Do you know the numbers for what is? Okay. They will provide it. The court administration division will provide you with the exact numbers. But I remember at a point it was over 400 million. Yes, so it was a lot. It was a big money. So as we speed that process, both for the drivers to just get that off their record and for the government revenues, it will be a good thing.
All right.
Did you want to say anything?
The court administration division has decided that they will give you the information and they're committing end of day. Yeah. So you're good. All right. In terms of the debts, I would have to check with ODPEM. I know Ambassador, you're here. I don't know if you have a number different than the 45. The last number I got officially was that 45. They were investigating others, but I have not received any other information. And Ambassador Marks is saying he has not either, but we will reach out to Commander just to confirm and get back to you today. And so, Ambassador Meade, between you and Commander, we'll get an answer for you on that one. All right. Are there any more questions, Antoinette? No? All right. Good. Okay. Well, we are at 11:36, so
one more question. Go ahead.
One last question. Sure.
I wanted to know, because the e-transactions policy should make processes and transactions quicker and easier, but how will, for example, the bearers that usually are employed by these processes, how will the ministry provide for the jobs that will be lost with the implementation of this policy?
Yeah. So, I hear all the time persons who are concerned about digitalization, the use of AI, taking away jobs. It's also creating new jobs. So I would encourage the ministries to redeploy persons who used to be bearers into other roles. And that's what usually happens. As systems change, we need to upskill persons to operate in other areas. And that is what I expect will happen. We're not looking at terminations. We're looking at greater productivity and upskilling across the public service.
And as you said, upskilling, just reminding everyone that we're open at heart for all those individuals who would like to be upskilled. And level 4 and level 5 will now be free. So our level 5 degree a level 5 program at Heart is actually a bachelor's degree. So at Heart, you can get a bachelor's degree for free in one of the technical areas that is so in demand. So as a government, we understand that in some of what we're doing, that you will have individuals displaced from their original job, but we're also still ensuring that we have avenues for that upskilling that Minister Marks has spoken about. Free. F-R-E-E. Free. Up to level 5.
That's
and again,
big.
level
That's
5
big.
is a degree. It's a bachelor's degree that you can get from Heart. So just pointing that out. Our teams in the government are very active, and they have an answer on the questions, on the question relating to the deaths after Hurricane Melissa. I've gotten confirmation that there is no change. They have concluded many of the investigations that were in train, and they were deemed to not be Melissa related. And so as we stand now, we are still at 45. All right.
So just one more thing. Any questions from our business persons that I need to know that will cause any delay in the business sector, Exporters Association, Bankers Association, all the business persons that are here? I just want to know that you are fully aligned and ready to go.
They are, and they have the opportunity. They have access to you all the time, and we do have to close. We're at 11:40.
Okay. Yes.
I fear that I will go to the staff office, I will go to another government office and say, we know nothing about this. So
Mr. Thomas? No, go ahead, Mr. Thomas. Just answer that question for me.
The policy is at the stage of approval and ready for implementation. The Ministry of Finance will be tasked with dispatching that policy as soon as it is ready.
So that's today. You'll be dispatching the policy today. Okay.
It will be
online.
It's usually
Did you
online.
put it up on your site, on your website?
Generally, once policies are fully approved and ready for implementation, they are updated on the Ministry of Finance's website.
So apart from circulating it within the government services, we'll put it also on the website. All right, I'll follow up with your office to ensure that it goes up on the website.
All right, we do have to wrap up, so this is the very last question we can take this morning.
Good morning, Ministers. I represent the Jamaica Developers Association. My name is Reynolds Scott from Gian.
I remember.
The e-policy.
Yeah.
The local government authorities, which is all over the island, and specifically Case Bank. How does the e-policy affect the approvals process? We have accepted what is called the 90-day approvals process. I can't say that it is totally functional. How will it affect that policy? Is there any specific change that will accelerate that approval?
So that's a different policy that we are going to, that's a different implementation that we are going to come to in terms of the processes that we are digitalizing right now. We are having a meeting next week with the Developers Association, including with Mr. Scott, and we're going to go through the processes, and then we're going to look at what is happening with the 90 days and how can we cut it down to 30 days. And these changes we are making, these are all some of the tools that will allow us to cut it down to the 30 days that we are aiming for. So we should have a good meeting next week.
And I can see the country will develop at a faster pace.
I'm looking forward to that, because with NARA coming on board, we need to be seen rapid movements. Nothing can stay 90 days and 2 years anymore. We have to build back Jamaica stronger.
All right, as we close out, and since Minister mentioned NARA, I just needed to note to everyone that NARA will have special functions, and it will also have special powers. And so that question that you have is one that has detained the cabinet quite a bit. And so as a part of NARA and expediting the projects in the West, we've actually done a review of several of the legislations because we have to expedite approvals. And what's interesting is that as we do that process for NARA and give NARA those powers, one of the things we want from you in the private sector is to indicate the extent to which you think this should actually permeate the entire system and not just be in relation to NARA. And so that's another part of the conversations we've had in Cabinet around expediting things.
And Minister, just to add, I know we're out of time, that as we go through the NARA process, we'll be seeing if something can be done efficiently and effectively in 30 days or 2 weeks. We are looking to normalize those processes going forward after NARA. So we just become a much more efficient society.
All right, and we are at 11:43 a.m., so I have to thank you all for being here this morning. I want to thank you, Minister, for being here. I see TVJ wrapping up because they have 12 o'clock news to get the footage too, and we're late for the news cycle. But I thank you all for being here. This was very, very important to hear what is happening. This is a big deal. We've been talking about this for a long time. It helps to get efficiency in our country, and so we're very glad, Minister, that you've been doing this. Thank you to the team. Thank you to the private sector for being such wonderful partners. We want to hear from you. We want to know what we can do better, and we will do it. Good to have the court system here with us too today. And so as we celebrate champs, remember 100-meter finals is today. It's not Friday like it used to be in the past. It's tonight. So I look forward to seeing many of you at the National Stadium tonight to see our young people in action. And as I said, I'll be cheering everybody. Everybody is my team as Minister of Education. And so again, as we always say at the end of post-cabinet press briefing, we really do this because we want to keep an openness of government to the media and to our country. We're here, we stand here, whatever question you have, even if we can't answer it, we tell you we can't answer it. But we stand here and we bring ourselves as government to be accountable to everybody. And so as we end, I say as always, God bless Jamaica, land we love, and I see you next time, and enjoy champs this weekend. Thank you all.